You should not teach the children the alphabet as the basis of reading. And similarly, people typically put up an alphabet wall frieze, A, B, C, D, and so forth, A to Z, but actually they shouldn't.
Mr. Chris Jolly, known as the father of phonics and founder of Jolly Phonics, created a method now used in more than 150 countries to teach children to read and write. Jolly Phonics links sounds with actions, making literacy natural, fun, and memorable. Our founder personally met Mr. Jolly to learn firsthand why his method is so effective. Watch the full interview in this video.
Why do you think phonics, especially Jolly Phonics, is such an effective foundation for children's reading and writing compared to traditional methods?
You're really asking a child to memorize a word. There are so many words in English, and after a while it's just overload. And if you rely on memorization, then each time they find a new word in a book, they must ask someone how to say it.
Yeah, that's true.
With phonics, they get a skill, and that skill is to be able to sound out a word and then blend it so they can read it. So when they come to a new word in a book, most likely they will be able to work it out by sounding it out and blending. So the benefit of phonics is that children will be learning much faster, and they'll be able to read a variety of texts and do so unaided. And with Jolly Phonics, the benefits are that they will thoroughly enjoy it. It's a fun program to use. They will make particularly good progress, and you can expect all of them to do well.
In your experience, how Jolly Phonics not only teach literacy, but also building children's confidence and love for learning?
Yes. Now, the thing that was most disheartening for children is if they're asked to do something and they haven't been given the skills to do it. So if they're asked to read a word but they've never seen it before and they've not got any way of doing so, they will feel depressed and they'll feel that they're no good at reading. On the other hand, if you've taught them the letter sounds and you've taught them how to blend, and they come to a new word, they can sound it out and blend it with a bit of encouragement from you and help. And then they can suddenly find they're able to read a word they may not have seen before. And then that gives them a lot of confidence. So being able to do it is what makes them feel good about themselves and good about reading.
How can Jolly Phonics support multicultural learning environment where children come from different backgrounds and language levels, like in our school, for example?
Yes. The reality is that the most effective, the most significant way of teaching, and therefore teaching literacy as well, depends on the methodology, the way you do it. What the children bring from home in terms of their ethnicity, in terms of how well off they are or not, and what gender they are, that is much less important. So even if you have poor children who have no English, you can expect them to achieve, but it relies on a good program that takes them through all the steps from the beginning. So you teach them those letter sounds, you teach them to blend, and then they can do it. You shouldn't have lower expectations simply because they don't have English as a first language. And I'll tell you also a story, and that is this, that in the UK, where we have a lot of people who have immigrated to the UK, we can see what the results are in schools comparing black African children, Indian children, Chinese children, and white British children. And the problem we have in the UK is that the people who perform least well, the people who struggle most in school, are the white British. And the black African and the Indian and the Chinese, they do better. So a lot comes down to motivation. Very often, and most typically, those children who are from immigrant families, they tend to be more motivated. They have more belief in themselves they can do it. And they do. And for a lot of white British, particularly from less advantaged backgrounds, they don't have the same, from less advantaged backgrounds, they don't have the same motivation and they don't have the same support from their parents, and that shows in the results.
What do you see as the biggest impact of schools like ours in adopting Jolly Phonics early on in their journey for the kids?
The biggest impact is simply enabling children to read and to write, and to do so in English. And with that, every other subject is open to them. They're then able to do maths and science and geography and what have you, because they've got a way of reading what's on the page in front of them. So ability to read is the start of education as a whole. And even that can be achieved even with very young children, and it makes a huge difference. And English is such a strong vehicle for learning about the world, learning science, and being able to just have a very prosperous future.
What advice would you give to parents and also educators who want to prepare children not just for reading and writing, but also for to thrive in the future?
Children benefit from parental encouragement. Children benefit from praise. And I think one of the curious things about phonics, it's also about what you should not do as well as what you should do. So for instance, you should not teach the children the alphabet as the basis of reading. So you should not call the first letter of the alphabet A. You should use its sound, A, and only call it A, not call it A, when it comes to reading. And similarly, people typically put up an alphabet wall frieze, A, B, C, D, and so forth, A to Z, but actually they shouldn't. They should put up a phonic frieze, which does all the 42 sounds of English. And then the children can see those, they can distinguish between and A being spelled AI, and then they are thinking about the sound structure of English, and that will give them a better start.
Right, but also the problem I faced is, the parents already used to the old traditional way. And then when I teach the kids at the school, this is phonics, and then, introducing this to them, then when they went home, the parents said, oh, it's not, there's no use to learn the sounds, learn the name instead. What should I say? Or how to, make these parents understand in our perspective?
It's hard because this is one of the crucial things. The parents need to be able to understand that phonics is different and that there are things that need to change in their thinking. And therefore you have to just repeat it and say, look, these are the sounds we use. Perhaps give them some listing of those sounds so they can try and work them out for themselves. But they want to help their child, and you can say to them, this is how we help you. I remember a story that I heard of a child who went home after the second day at school, and Granny was at home. And so Granny said, oh, what did you learn at school today? So the child said, I learned A. So Granny didn't know what she meant. So what do you mean? And so the little child showed her letter A and said, there. Oh, said Granny, you mean A? And the little child said, no, A. Granny was quite confused and didn't realize, and suddenly found that Granny, was being taught about phonics by her little 5-year-old granddaughter.
The interview is very important for me because to show the parents as well that you come from the UK, you are British, and you develop this very systematic system, and it is called Jolly Phonics to replace this ABC. So they must see you,
Yes.
and listen to you.
Yes. Well, maybe I should come to Denpasar then.
Ubud. to Bali Art School.
Yes. Who's to say? Maybe I should find a way of doing so.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
What would you say to parents in Bali Art School about this Jolly Phonics? Do you want to say something?
I mean, the evidence is strong that Jolly Phonics is the most effective phonics program around, the most effective way for young children to become literate in English, be able to read and write. So, parents, the best advice I can give is to support you, to be able to follow your advice, and still to be keen to see their child develop, to get some awareness of Jolly Phonics. Look it up on the internet, for instance. There's masses of stuff about Jolly Phonics there. Listen to you. And yes, your child will get there. They may need help. It will be a struggle for them, but a pleasant one. They'll enjoy it. They'll feel good about themselves and being able to develop and acquire that skill.